Steel Curtain Network.
Touchdown! Touchdown para Calvin Austin! El Monte Washington es arma. ¿Quién más? ¿Quién más? TJ Watt!
Oh, TJ Watt. We're going to be talking about that guy in this show. Steelers preview time. I'm Jeff Hartman, joined by Dave Schofield and Bryan Davis. Dave, what's up?
Hey, I'm just here so I don't get fined. No, not really. Now we're what is it? 2 weeks? Just chugging along.
Yep.
Let's get this done. Let's you get those big moments in the off season. You want to get to them, and you're ready for them. I'm ready for the draft. Bring it on.
It's the next stepping stone. Bryan Davis, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm like an 8-year-old at Christmas time, 2 weeks before Christmas right now. I'm shaking. I just can't wait. And it's great because there's so many other storylines that are happening that people are waiting on. I know we're talking about them in this entire show, but last night was fun for me too. And we'll be talking about that as I was just saying, hey, will there be a swerve? Will we have news?
No. You talking about the big night at the Pat McAfee thing?
I loved it.
Did you? I thought it was
loved it.
Very awkward at times, kind of cringy at times. It didn't flow very well, in my opinion.
Oh,
I was not expecting.
When all you did was watch clips of it, then I guess I did the right thing because
I was not expecting Aaron Rodgers ever.
Yeah.
No, and he said at the beginning, he said at the beginning, no, he's not here, but he did a story about him. But it was cool. And I enjoyed the musical acts. But you got to understand, it was the first one.
Right.
But with what he did and how they showed up, it was really good. If you're a fan of Jim Rome back in the day, Jim Rome used to do tour stops. And he would come to your town maybe once or twice a year. He would come to a town once or twice a year, and people would travel and do that stuff like crazy. And I can see McAfee turning this whole thing into an institution. But last night was a celebration for the city of Pittsburgh. It was a love fest on the city of Pittsburgh. And then the final $2 million winner was just a buzzkill.
I missed that part.
Okay, so Dave or Bryan, do you know off the top of your head, because I've lost track after all the trades and stuff, how many total draft picks do the Steelers have in this upcoming draft total?
7.
I believe 7.
Yeah, they've got no 2, but they've got wait a second. Or is it just
3?
6?
They've got a 4.
No, it's 6.
5.
It's 6. It's right.
No. They have 2 7s, don't they?
No, they don't. They traded one of them to move back into the 6th.
Okay, then they only have 6.
They only have 6. Yeah.
Okay. My question to start off the show is, as we sit here 2 weeks away, do you think the Steelers will only have and use 6 picks in the draft, or do you think they'll have less or more? Dave, what do you think?
I would say, if I was going to break it down into percentages, I would say 5% chance they have less. I would say 60% they have the same, and 35% they have more.
That is like the best Dave answer I've ever heard.
Yeah, you got it right there.
He didn't just
less?
dodge the question. He actually gave us percentages in the process.
No, I thought I gave you a better answer by doing it that way.
No, that
what
was
about
very
you,
good.
Bryan? What do you think?
I don't think they're if they do trade up, I would not be surprised if they traded up in the second round. Don't want to see him trade up in the first. In fact, I'd be thrilled with a trade down in the first round for what they're looking for. One of those defensive linemen could be picked a couple picks later, so they could make a smart deal there. So I don't really, and if they end up getting a quarterback and it be a guy that, if it's Shedeur Sanders or Jackson Dart, it's because they dropped mightily. Yeah. And I still think if they drop mightily, then you trade. You run to the phones and trade like crazy. But I could see them wanting to get back into the second round. But I could also see them using the promise of a compensatory pick next year by trading their regular pick in that round, by forecasting what they think they're going to get and go ahead and say, all right, they might forecast that they have 3 4th rounders next year. This is just me throwing out. I have there's nothing behind it. I'm just throwing out some numbers. And they might say, all right, we really think we're going to get 2 extra 4th round picks. So we could trade our regular 4th round pick next year and do it now to move up. And now, if they end up trading somebody that they have, if they trade an existing player, I don't see that as being a trade for this year. I would think that it would be a pick for next season because you would get higher value in the draft by getting a pick next year than you would this year. That's just my opinion. Dave, I could be wrong. I don't know what you think about that, but I think more likely to get a higher pick for the same.
Generally 1 year later equals one round higher.
That's why.
That's why when the Steelers traded to get a 5th round pick in Isaiah Loudermilk, they traded a 4th rounder from the year before. That's generally the going rate. That a 1st rounder this year, a 2nd round pick this year would equal a 1st round pick next year. Except you know how crazy 1st rounds are, so that might not be a 1-for-1, but definitely like a 3rd round pick this year would equal a 2nd round pick of next year. Things of that nature.
Okay. Let's assume that a trade takes place involving a current Steelers player. Who do you think would be atop the list to be traded? Dave, I'll let you go first.
A current Steelers player?
Mm-hmm.
I would say the top of the list would be George Pickens, and I still don't think they're going to trade him.
Yeah.
So
I agree. But
I would put him at the top of the list.
Who else would be on your list?
I mean, I know a lot of people have mentioned Minkah Fitzpatrick, but I don't know that the Steelers would do that. I know some people have thrown around TJ Watt. I don't know that the Steelers would really consider that. That doesn't sound like the typical Steelers move, but it doesn't mean that they wouldn't, because we've seen some atypical Steelers moves, like trading for DK Metcalf. So I would call those not likely, not impossible, just not likely.
Okay. What about you, Bryan? Who's the top of your list and who else is on your list?
Okay. I'm going to give you some interesting names here because these are head scratchers, but it's because of when they were drafted. The first one I would put on the list, you're not going to believe that I'm going to say this, Connor Hayward. I can see, because he's why you don't want to trade Darnell, because you still have, he's only going into his 3rd year, but you've got a guy like Connor Hayward. I could actually see Calvin Austin III being moved, possibly, because it's a chance for somebody else to get another receiver. That way they go ahead and they feel free to draft one. They know they have Roman Wilson. I know they like CA3, but having Roman Wilson, wanting to draft another guy, and the fact that you have both he and George Pickens going into a contract year, Calvin Austin could be a guy to go. And that was from the top of my head. I've heard nobody say that. The other guy that I would think of here would be, and your answer to this is going to be who's going to want him, but Cordero Patterson for a 7th round pick for a needy team.
Now, a name that Reginald Rivers threw out there, I just wanted to get your all's take on this. He said Highsmith. I don't know. Like you would get something for him though. Like for instance, Connor Hayward's going to fetch you a day 3 pick at the best.
Yeah.
As if anyone wants him. That most people
that's
would say,
more likely going to not even gain you a pick. It just might move it up in the round. It might be a pick swap.
Right. Or it might be we're just going to wait till you cut him when rosters get trimmed, if that's what it's going to be. So I don't see that, but Highsmith would get you something. It's not going to be a day 2. It's probably not going to be a day 2 pick. It would still be a day 3 pick. But the whole reason I brought all this up, and I'm glad that Dave, you brought up TJ Watt, and some people have said that they think that TJ Watt should be on the block in terms of trading. Well, TJ Watt, people will say things about the Watts and how they are very loyal. They're guys that do everything they can to help their organization win. They also know how to use social media. And TJ Watt has proven that while he doesn't use it a lot, he does know how to use social media. And the other day on Instagram, on his stories, he posted a photo, just a random photo that he has leaving the field. We've used it a million times on steelcurtainnetwork.com, holding up the peace sign. And of course, there was no text attached with it. Like, it was very much a wide receiver diva-ish type move. Everyone started speculating. Well, all of a sudden, probably because, these people that have inside sources, they see this, they call around. Seems like negotiations might not be going as well as maybe people did think at one point. Dave, let's start off with you because you're the salary cap guy. You're the contract guy. If you were responsible for putting an offer on the table to TJ Watt that you think is fair to keep him with the Steelers, what does it look like in terms of guarantees and years?
So you're wanting me to do it to give you a potential TJ Watt contract.
So for me, I'd say a 3-year extension. He has this year. So you got 4 more years of contractual control. He would be 34 years old by the end of that contract, which is probably the time where you're saying, okay, what are we doing with this guy? I think he could still be productive. But do we as Steeler fans think the Steelers organization should give him Max Crosby money, Myles Garrett money, or any of the other pass rushers that are going to get paid? What are your thoughts?
I wouldn't be shocked if it would just be a 2-year extension. That would, 3 years total. That wouldn't surprise me. I know a lot of people are saying, somewhere in the $35 to $37 million range with some of the stuff that was said in there. Honestly, I would not be shocked if it was only 2 years, if they gave him 2 more years at $80.5 million for those 2 years. That would not surprise me. Okay. Then that puts him slightly above Myles Garrett. I would be more likely to see a number like that if it was only 2 rather than 3. I think the Steelers can make, with their cap and everything, they can make anything work with it. I don't know that they need to. I don't know that they need to take an extra low cap hit for this coming year. But for it, because I had some people reaching out to me asking about that. I'm like, hey, if you want to do that, you just give more in the base guaranteed base salary the first year rather than the signing bonus, as long as you guarantee it. Because to me, I think if they give him a contract, if they do an extension, not only would this year be guaranteed, but I would have a feeling next year would be guaranteed. And to me, anything less than anything that would be under $40 million, honestly, would actually probably be a bargain for the Steelers based on the current market and the way it's set. But as I said, I'd feel much better about that if it was only 2 years beyond what he is now, because they would then also still have the chance to go. Because remember, I still think the salary cap is going to hit $300 million next year.
Yeah. All right. Now, Bryan, I'm going to give you an opportunity to time on that, but I want you to play the role of TJ Watt. So Dave didn't even know it, but he was playing the role of Omar Khan, and he provided a 2-year extension that gives you about $40 million, almost fully guaranteed in both of those years. And that's obviously going to be a conclusion to the 1 year that you currently have. So 3 years of contractual control. If you're TJ Watt, Bryan, what do you think about that offer, and what are you expecting?
I'm expecting the team to take care of me. I'm expecting the team. I don't think he's looking to break the bank, but I think he wants respect. And I think being ranked above Myles Garrett, and Dave, you said those numbers would be slightly above Myles Garrett?
Wasn't Myles Garrett 40? I'm just going off memory. I'll look it up while you're talking.
Him or Crosby got $40 million a year.
He doesn't care about Crosby's money because there's always been a mutual respect between he and Crosby. There's not a mutual respect with Garrett and Watt because Garrett has spouted off about a lot of things over the years, and especially when he was winning the defensive player of the year, there was a lot of stuff there. So yeah, they're in the division. He wants to beat him, but he wants to know that the Pittsburgh Steelers, a team that he grew up with, would go ahead and value him. He needs to feel valued here. And that's not a diva move. That's just wanting to feel valued. Or he saw what happened. He saw his brother have productive years in Arizona. And nobody ever thought he'd wear a different red jersey than what he wore with the Texans. I know he wore a blue one too. But all I'm saying is nobody thought that J.J. Watt would ever leave. TJ's like, hey, respect me or go ahead. I mean, don't let me sit here while other guys that you have probably been telling me that, oh, TJ, you're better than Miles. You're better than Micah. You're better than these guys. I'm not saying he is. I'm just saying that I'm sure people have been saying that to him in the organization. And if you're valued, make me feel valued. So, yeah, I would look at that deal. I would probably want 3 if I'm TJ Watt. But I also saw what they did with Cam Hayward. And they took care of Cam. And I could see him saying, all right, get me there, but we can play around with some money. Omar, you're a genius at playing around with some money. So let's just see what we can do. But give me my due, too. I am a franchise player for them. For you.
All right.
I have that number.
Go ahead, Dave.
I was right. Garrett was 40. And there's a big gap because Garrett is 40 a year. Danielle Hunter, whatever it is 35.6 million per year. And Max Crosby is 35.5 million a year. So that Garrett contract just went bonkers.
Yeah.
But they had to overpay him to keep him from wanting out of town. TJ doesn't want out of town, but now Garrett's just set that market, and now you just got to see what it is, how it is. I'm not wrapping up because remember it's all about new money. I'm not wrapping up $120 million in TJ Watt versus the $80 million for TJ Watt. That's why I think that would be beneficial to everyone. And then you say TJ, then you could still be young enough that you could, after 2 years, you could still get another contract.
Yeah.
Another significant contract. If it's another year on there, he might not want that before he does it again, because that might be a little bit too far. One more year when you're getting, 33 versus 34, that could make that difference there.
So what exactly do you think will happen with these negotiations? They can change in the drop of the hat. It got pretty contentious last offseason with Cam Hayward, even at times. What do you think? Do you expect this? I guess I should ask, do you expect this to be the same thing we saw the last time TJ Watt needed a contract? It took all training camp. It was right before week 1 when they traveled to Buffalo. He reportedly went in without his agent and said, let's just get the freaking deal done. And then he went up and they won the game up in Orchard Park. But it also was TJ Watt showing up every day, and he never did anything teamwork. He all did individual stuff. That was it. Bryan, what do you think in terms of what is your gut telling you as it pertains to these contract negotiations?
My gut's telling me that this is going to last a while and that it is going to go into training camp. I don't know whether he would do a hold in again. But I will say this, and I think I've said this on the show before. I think I said it last week. They really screwed up. They had an opportunity to do this before the money went mad. And I don't know why they waited on this, because now they're putting themselves in a position where they're stuck. If TJ Watt's the kind of guy that if you would have given him 35, 37, earlier on before these other guys, he's not going to come back and say, you should have paid me more. So now you're forcing yourself into the corner on it and to make a tough decision. So I actually think it's going to last a while, but this is the Steelers have no problem paying, but the man up top shuffles his feet, and that's Art Rooney II. He's a feet shuffler. He's got to be completely convinced on what he's going to do, and he waits too long on things. He waited way too long on Matt Canada. He's waiting too long on the offensive line coach right now. He waiting too long and hurting his franchise. He waited too long on a guy like TJ Watt. So now you do have to go ahead and make a tough decision. I see him staying with the Steelers. I don't see him going away. But if you're sitting back and you're TJ Watt right now, and you're seeing a newcomer that's never been with the Steelers in DK Metcalf getting all this money, and you're seeing all this waiting game for Aaron Rodgers, I think you feel slighted a little bit. But here's what we don't know. That could have just been the peace sign to one of his nephews. That could have been, it could have been anything, but and how many sources over the years have been wrong? Filippone. Every source Filippone has is wrong.
He's not a source.
Yeah, but he has sources, but every source is wrong. So what I'm trying to say here is, how I like to talk about the draft matchmakers, the free agent media matchmakers. This is the 412 stepping in and making a mountain out of a molehill. It's a picture, for goodness sake. But now it makes you think that it makes you expand the narrative and run down that road and say, oh my gosh, now he wants to leave. You're going to hear this. I heard TJ is talking to a realtor. You know what I mean? I heard TJ bought some land in Wisconsin. I heard this. I heard that. And so I don't think they have any desire to trade the guy. And we're hearing all about being on the wrong side of 30 and all that and being old. But he's more productive than Cam was in later years. And so there's no reason that a guy like that can't have a resurgent year too. I don't know why you would want to take that off of your roster when you're trying to convince yourself that you're going for a Super Bowl.
Well, that was my next question. Like you just said, you're trying to convince yourself that you're going for the next Super Bowl. That sounds a lot like you're not going for your next Super Bowl. And maybe TJ Watt might say, I don't know if they're going to be able to win while I'm here. So let's throw it out on the table.
Do I not get to answer the last question?
Well, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Just because I wanted to balance what Bryan said. We flipped roles. Now, that last one, he was Omar Khan, and now I want to be TJ Watt. Why, for the love of anything, would TJ Watt want to negotiate in March when he could sit back and see what these other guys are going to get? If I'm TJ Watt, I'm not talking to him till June. That's usually that's like early for the Steelers to be doing.
Well, I don't think anyone out there that's going to get a deal is going to get better than Myles Garrett. Not Micah Parsons, not Trey Hendrickson.
So now he's all right.
The bar has been set.
Yeah.
So in that case, yeah, you could negotiate now because I want more than he has.
Yeah. Because he set that bar really high. He could go now, but to go before that came out, there was with all these other players. Because here's the thing: do you think Micah Parsons is going to go over Myles Garrett?
No, he might.
Some people think he could. So
Dallas is crazy.
He still doesn't have to do it. So to me, I think the reason, the Steelers missed out on going early. Well, first of all, the Steelers don't go early. I mean, technically, June is early for them. It used to always be August or September under Kevin Colbert. Omar Khan comes in, and next thing you know, Minkah Fitzpatrick's getting his deal done in June. So is Alex Highsmith. Was that Alex Highsmith? I think might have been May. I don't know. I mean, if I'm trying to remember right, it all mixes together.
Yes.
So
right.
To me, I still think it's way early for people to be thinking that this is a big deal right now. Honestly, even a year from now, if he plays out the last year of his contract, would be a whole different, then you're really worried about it. But to me, if you'd likely franchise him if something doesn't get done this year, as you're trying to continue to work it out. So I'm not worried about it. I did not get that from social media post. I thought that's you talk about reading tea leaves. I thought that was kind of crazy that everyone's like, this means he's not happy with the negotiation.
I'll say this.
Even the peace sign.
Yeah.
If you're gonna, I'll say this. You talk about reading the tea leaves. This team isn't close to contending. And I don't think they're 1 or 2 years away from contending either. So if I'm reading the tea leaves, it's not about the negotiations. It's about what is TJ Watt's value. He's going to be 31 years old, correct? Or is he already 31?
He'll turn 31 in October, I think it is.
Okay, so he's 31. I would say this.
Checking. Yeah, he's 31. He'll be. Oh wait, he's 30. He'll be 31 on October 11th.
I'm looking at his age. I'm looking at his production. I'm looking at injuries, and I'm saying I don't think his stock will ever be higher unless we would have traded him after he tied Michael Strahan's record. So for me, I'm looking at, okay, this guy's in the last year of his deal. He's going to cost us a lot of money this year. And maybe we don't want to invest that much money into a guy that we don't think is going to be able to put us over the top in the modern day NFL because we don't have the system around him. It's not that TJ's not great. It's not that I don't love TJ, but I would honestly consider hearing trade offers. If someone's willing to give me a really good deal, and I'm not saying King's ransom where some people are like, oh, you should trade it, that you should be able to get 2 first rounds. He's not going to garner 2 first round picks if they were to trade it. But would he give them a lot? I think they would. And so for me, I look at this and say, it's now or never. And unfortunately, the way the Steelers do business, it's the antithesis of trade them while their stock is high. They wait until they basically burn out. Cam Hayward is an aberration, in my opinion, where he just continues to get better with age. Pass rushers typically don't do that. So what would you okay, let's go down this rabbit hole. What would you expect in return for TJ Watt if they traded him before the draft? Dave, I'll let you go first.
I have no idea.
The Steelers won't do it. I'm not talking about it. Let's go down the rabbit hole. Like let's do this.
I honestly have no clue with trade value. I really don't for a player.
You got to give me a number 1 and number 2.
That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. A first round pick or even a second in the following draft. Or maybe it's a first this year and a third this year, but the second next year. Do you make that deal, Bryan? Think about that.
Yeah, I guess I do. But I would answer the phone and I would have a lot of conversations. I would not hang up the phone and say, no, go away. Yeah, I would have to seriously consider it, but I'm not going to just be hasty and just do it. Just, oh yeah, sure. Boom. And I'm turning off the live chat because we want to go ahead and we're just trade him. He's worthless. He's old. He's a veteran, blah. I mean, that's not, there is some value in keeping a guy like this. It's a culture type thing too. I just don't, I'm not a complete, what have you done for me lately type of guy when you're still doing stuff. But, I don't, unless it's a number 1 song, that it sucks if it's just number 2. I'm not like, if we don't win the Super Bowl, it's a horrible thing. Yeah. And so, and that's how a lot of fans are. So I don't subscribe to that, but if I'm thinking about the future of my franchise, I'm listening to offers for them. And, I definitely am, because you're not doing your job if you're not.
Okay, I'll throw one out now.
Sure, go ahead.
Would you guys do it if you got your 2nd rounder back this year and a 1st rounder next year?
Ooh. That's enticing. 2nd rounder this year. I guess to me, it would also depend on how
high is that 2nd rounder.
Yeah. If it's like pick 34, 35, I'm like, okay, now
the Tennessee Titans offer you.
Man, that would be something.
This year's 2nd, so the 33rd overall, right? And next year's 1.
I'd say give me throw in a 3rd next year and you got yourself a deal.
Ditto. That's what I was about to say.
So I'm going to say if it's someone as high as you think is the Titans, you would be more likely to take it. You know, if it's somebody like, I don't know, the Buffalo Bills or the Kansas City Chiefs, then you would need something more because of how low it would be otherwise. I only threw that out just to throw it out. I'm going to tell you this. This is not how the Pittsburgh Steelers operate. I would not expect TJ Watt to go anywhere because some people are like, they have too much loyalty to players. You know what? It's the loyalty to players that has players wanting to play for them. It's not a game of Madden. It's an actual games on the field. So to me, the Pittsburgh Steelers would not do this unless TJ Watt asked for a trade, and then I think they do it in a heartbeat.
Or unless TJ Watt's asking for $42 million a year and the Steelers say, we're not giving you.
And we're like, we're not paying you. You can play the last year of your contract. We'll consider the franchise tag unless you ask to be. The Steelers could even bring up the idea of him asking to be traded.
Yeah.
But he would have to say it. Like,
no, and Dave, I knew you were going to say that. And that's why I prefaced it with the Steelers don't operate this way, but let's go down this rabbit hole. Let's do this as a fun exercise.
Because I mean, the scenario you said right there could happen. I'm not saying it's the likeliest thing, but that's to me, it's the second most likeliest thing. You know, if he says, no, I want 42, and they're like, for three more years. And they're saying, no way, we can't do that. If that's what it's going to be, then we're just going to keep you for one more year. And then we'll consider a franchise tag or two beyond that. And that's what you're going to get. Unless your deal is you want to request a trade.
Yeah. I wanted to remind everyone, and before we take a quick break, I wanted to remind everyone the last time he was in negotiations, it wasn't always pretty. Yes, he was there. And he never missed anything, but everything that you heard coming out about negotiations where they were not really close until TJ went in and said, I just want to play football. I want to be here. Let's make a deal. And so now this is probably his last bag. When you look at it in the grand scheme of things, this is his last chance to get that type of money. He's going to want that money, as he should. All players should want that money. The question is does it fit with where the organization is and where they want to go? We'll see.
And remember, last time it was holding out because he didn't want to get hurt and only be paid $10 million.
Well,
now it's 21.
Holding in, as they call it now, I think is the term.
If he was holding in and he didn't want to get hurt or anything before that deal was, because if not, then all they had to do was pay him the $10 million that year. This time it's 20 something. It's like, what is it? 21 and a half or 20.5 or something. 21.05 is what it is. So that's a little bit different too.
All right. Let's take a quick break. For those watching live on any platform, we're not going anywhere. For those on the audio side, we will be right back after a word from our sponsors. All right, Steeler fans, thank you all for being patient. We are back second half. We got a lot to discuss. Before we do anything else Steelers related, I want to give everyone an idea as to what is coming up for the NFL draft. We mentioned earlier in the show that 2 weeks from now, we will be doing a live stream once again. This will be the same type of live stream. We're going to do one each day, day 1, day 2, day 3 of the NFL draft, as we did last year. Day 1, at least, will be a very special event. It'll start a little bit before the draft. It's going to be in, I guess you would say, coalition, so to speak, or in connection with Draft Nation, which is a company that is its own entity. They have their podcast on the Fans First Sports Network. They are based out of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. They do a live event every single year. This year, it's going to be at the Rivers Casino, where you can go and they have former players there. They give out gift bags and stuff. It is a pretty cool event from everything that I've seen. We will be doing our live stream this year, but this is all to build up to 2026, where we are going to hopefully be doing an event together. And this would be in Pittsburgh, where the draft is going to be. So we will give you more information as it comes out, but we will be doing a live stream event again during the draft every single day, day 1, day 2, day 3. It's going to be a lot of fun. And so I hope y'all are tuning into that live stream, because I know last year it was a blast. For someone that was on the live stream, it was fun. I'm sure hopefully as the viewers out there, I hope it was fun for you as well. Before we dive into anything else Steelers related, I do want to get this live chat or super chat here. Steeler fan 69, he's always giving us dad jokes and comedy on the mailbag segment every single week. He gives us $5. Thank you very much. He says, hello, my friends. Bought a head of lettuce from a small grocery store called Mama's and Papa's. Can't eat it because all the leaves are brown. Very nice. Thank you very much.
He also, were you the one who put it in the live chat?
Me?
You that answered him?
Yeah, well, he also put, and the core is gray. He also put that afterwards. So that's why I wrote cauliflower dreaming.
All right. He always provides some funny Chuck Norris jokes at the end.
I need to hang out with him
on my live chats or the mailbag segment of the Let's Ride podcast. So, all right, guys.
Can I say one last thing about TJ Watt?
Sure.
Okay. I want to because someone brought it up in the live chat that said, oh, he completely disappears in the playoffs. Just check his stats. All right. This past season, he faded down the stretch, but a lot of that was people believed he was injured. You could take that for what it's worth. But his playoff game, the one before that, I mean, he had 2 tackles for loss, 3 quarterback hits, 1 sack, and a fumble recovery for a touchdown.
That was the Chiefs game, correct?
Yeah, that's not disappearing in the playoffs. So when you do check the stats, that's what they tell you. I'm pretty sure that's it. And let's see. That's one of his 2 career touchdowns. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Real quick, we got to bring it up. What do y'all think about? Do you think we'll know? Simple question. Will we know the future of Aaron Rodgers before the draft? Yes or no? Dave, what do you think?
Probably not. The way it's going. I'm not worried about it.
So you don't think okay, that's fair. And honestly, everything we've heard from Omar Khan and Mike Tomlin, they're not putting the draft as like any type of deadline for him anyways. But Brian,
I've learned if I don't expect it, then I'm not disappointed when you don't hear anything.
Right. Brian, what about you?
I'm thinking yes, whether it be retirement or whether it be the Steelers. I think there's a poop or get off the pot. There's gotta be something because and I also think it'll happen right before the draft because remember, you've got, I don't want to go too long into this, but your OTAs start before the draft, right? Aren't they like the 21st or the 22nd?
I think that's one of the reasons why he's not making a decision.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to participate in those workouts.
So I would actually think that that's something that is a possibility that he skips those first ones, but then the draft comes and all right, this is if he wants to be there, and some people say he doesn't want to be here. Now, I think this is a posturing thing because remember towards the end of Ben's career, he wasn't going to those early organized team activities either. So I think it's just one of those things, but you want to have everything in place, not that big question mark, and you don't want to have this following you. And I think that's a conversation that they had.
Okay.
They're not going to give it away to us though. They can't.
No, I don't think so. So, all right, Dave, do you have trivia?
Yes, I do.
Let's do it.
So, although I will say something that I learned, I'm not, let's just say it. When it comes to knowing trivial things, I'm much better when you're talking about, 90s, even 80s, even 2000s stuff. This is just in general. This isn't even necessarily sports. So when you talk about stuff going on today, I'm usually not in tune with stuff. But it was just this week, Bryan, that I learned what you are considered if you are in the Beyonce fan club.
Yeah.
You are considered to be in the Beehive. So I figured you would.
That's right.
You would be on top of that one pretty good. I heard that this week. I'm like, Did I just hear someone reference that? So just sorry. I had to throw that.
And if I am in the Beehive, then I'm thinking with my Lady Gaga fan club. They're the little monsters.
Okay. I'm sorry I opened this up, Jeff. I apologize. So, all right, back to your Steelers trivia. All right. There are three. I've just been doing some all-time stats and stuff for the Steelers lately. What we talk about all-purpose? Was it last week we did all-purpose yards? Sometime around there. Yeah. This time we are doing with Steelers all-time leaders in touches. How many players do you think have over 15,000? Sorry, not 15,000. 1,500 touches all-time for the Steelers.
How many people?
How many players do you think that would entail?
Do quarterbacks never count in touches?
No, no passes, no, only receptions, returns, and obviously rushes.
I'm going to say 12.
I'm going to say 30.
Okay. To hit 1,500, Jeff, you were really close to the number if I would have said 1,000. Because there's 13 that have hit 1,000.
Okay.
But only 3 that have hit 1,500.
Wow.
Okay. Do you know who those 3 players are?
I'm going to go out on a limb and say Jerome Bettis.
Jerome Bettis is number 2 with 2,808 as a Steeler.
Right.
Franco
is number 1 with 3,187.
I want to say Antonio Brown, but I don't think that's right.
Antonio Brown does not have over 1,000.
Okay.
He has 868.
John Stallworth.
I thought I just saw him here. He has even less than Antonio Brown. He has 546.
Wow.
This is regular season, of course.
So 1,500 touches. I mean, you know what, Jeff? It's one of our guys. Barry Foster.
He didn't play that long, though.
Yeah,
Barry Foster is 13th on the list as the last guy to go over 1,000. He has 1,008.
But that's still a lot, though.
Where was Le'Veon Bell? I know he wasn't over the 1,500, but where did he finish?
1,541. He's number 3.
Really?
Wow.
But notice at number 3, he has less than half of Franco.
That's crazy.
So to go from Franco at 3,187 to the bus at 2,808, then it is a huge drop down to Bell at 1,541.
Did Bettis have more career touches than Franco?
Career touches than Franco?
Yeah, I would think he would have.
Yes. He's like 4th or 5th all time when you take all of it. Yeah.
Okay.
Are we not appreciating, though, Le'Veon Bell and how many times the guy touched the ball?
Yes.
In the short amount of time he was here.
Yeah. And part of me, the reason I did this is because I saw the clip on X today. It was Le'Veon Bell's 200 plus rushing yards against the Titans, where he had 33 carries. Didn't even have the receptions in there. And I'm like, he touched the ball. And that's when I went and double checked to see that that's what it was. And do you think you know any other names that are in the 1,000 touch club? I figure that's why I brought the Beehive before, since we wanted to talk about the touch club. So
you said AB was not correct.
AB was not.
You never touch at the Beehive.
Where did Merrill Hodge fall on that list?
Merrill Hodge was 9th, 1,060.
All right.
I'm going to give you a name. If we're talking touches and close to 1,000, Frank Pollard.
Frank Pollard was 10th, 1,057.
Love me some.
Tied with
Rocky.
The only wide receiver on the list that has over 1,000? Hines Ward.
Okay.
Yeah. So technically they were tied for 10. But you also said Rocky, right?
Yeah.
Rocky Blyer is 8th with 1,064. You guys had already got Barry Foster. I will tell you, there is one from the 50s and two from the 60s.
Well, John Henry Johnson.
John Henry Johnson is seventh with 1,112. That's from 60 to 65.
Is
Dick
the 50s?
Dick Shiner's probably up there. He was a quarterback. Never mind.
Are these running backs?
Yes.
Fran
Rogel. Very good. 12th, 1,050. And the other one who actually had the most of anybody, I say pre-merger, but technically his last year was 1970.
Dick Hoke.
1278. The only one you all were missing from that list. Well, actually, you're missing two. And they're actually both pretty high.
They're pretty high, you said?
You're missing number 4, the next one behind Le'Veon Bell.
And he's a running back?
He's a running back. I will tell you, the last two you're missing are Kevin Colbert era.
Willie Parker,
1337. He was number 4. Then Dick Hoke was number 5, and number 6.
Couldn't be Jimmy C.
No, it's Najee Harris, 1277.
Really?
Yeah.
Would have known that.
Oh, he had a lot. He did. Oh my gosh, he had.
Think about it. He
400 his rookie year.
He played 4 seasons with 17 games in each season and played in and started every game. So that was more of a volume thing when it came to Naj.
These are good trivias. I like.
So there
these.
you go.
I love these, Dave.
Yeah.
So all right, Bryan, why don't you go ahead and do your final thoughts?
Okay, I really didn't have final thoughts until now. And it's because of Dave's trivia question. And it's because of what Jeff said during his trivia question. You've got to consider Le'Veon Bell a Steelers all-time great. If you look at it and you look at some of these players and we're saying, yeah, they didn't play all that long, but I think averages are good. And you look at averages, you got to go, wow, there's no way that you can't put him up there as a great. You might not like the contract situation. You might not like joyriding with LeGarrette Blount. You might not like any of that. But you've got to know that when they were here, they were magic. And there's a lot of people that think that era was squandered. But there was a lot of things going on behind the scenes that kind of tarnishes that entire thing, especially against that Jacksonville playoff game where he wasn't showing up at practice at the end and all the writing was on the wall. But when you just go ahead and throw in what happened on the field, Antonio Brown, Le'Veon Bell, Najee Harris, even, you've got to, I mean, I know it's early on Najee, but you've got to wax poetically about what those guys did on the field, even though they weren't able to bring rings. But there's some magical players there. And when I put this wall up behind me, I kept on realizing that I've got a lot of Le'Veon Bell stuff and Antonio Brown stuff, and they deserve to be on the Wall of Fame.
Yeah, those were fun years, man. They were fun years. The Killer Bee era was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that one. Never a dull moment. Dave, what's your final thoughts?
All right. Well, I'm going to have to go twofold because I got to kind of respond a little bit to Bryan there. The issue, I don't have a problem with saying how great those players are, but the issue with players like Le'Veon Bell, like Antonio Brown, now you'll be able to put Najee Harris into this category as well, is it's not how you start, it's how you finish. It's all right if a player doesn't start off with the Pittsburgh Steelers, but you like it when they give the Pittsburgh Steelers the best years of your career. Now, could it be somebody that maybe played like Franco played 1 year in Seattle, but really didn't do anything? I can't remember. Did Willie Parker end up somewhere else?
Washington.
Yeah, he was in Washington for a little bit, but he gave you the best that he had. And when he moved on, it's because it just wasn't there anymore. Kind of like with Franco. So I hear. I don't remember. I was too young. So remember that you can be a beloved player like a Jerome Bettis that did not start in Pittsburgh. And hopefully maybe the Steelers are going to be getting another one of them starting in 2025 with DK Metcalf. That it didn't, don't ruin it because you're going, but this is where you are to finish it out. And also when it talks to finish it out, I got to give a shout out for my closing thoughts, although I'm sure she'll never listen to it. But I have 3 kids, and they are, let's just say this, they are not the most athletic specimens in the world. Jeff laughs because he knows a little bit. And everything, my oldest son, he does non-traditional things. He does fencing, and he does archery. Well, this year he convinced his older sister, who wouldn't do it last year, we convinced his older sister to do it this year. And she came home so discouraged when they first started. She's like, I'm so bad. All I hear the coaches talking about is how I'm so bad. Well, sometimes being so bad isn't the worst thing ever, because this week they finished up their archery season and she brought home the medal. Well, not very many people had medals for most improved. The one that started off the worst and made the most improvement by the end of it. And I'm like, hey, that's what it's really all about. So I really want to give a shout out to my daughter for she's so excited. She's like, never in my life did I think I would ever receive a sports medal. And yes, it's in archery, but she did. So there you go.
Still counts.
I love it. Yes, that's great, Dave.
Absolutely. All right, folks, that does it for us. We only have 2 more of these before the draft, right?
One.
That's right. The second one will be the draft. Yeah. So next week, Steelers preview. I don't know what we're going to talk about, but it's going to be exciting. So make sure you check that out. Make sure you check out steelcurtainnetwork.com. It's totally free. It's updated every single day. Really proud of the content. Check it out, steelcurtainnetwork.com. But Dave, why don't you send us out like you always do?
Hey.
See you next week.
Steel Curtain Network. Get it.
Everybody else gets a little tight.